if I couldn't raise my children, and make sure that they got through that experience whole, how could I help anybody else?
Michelle Obama has always been strong. She's handled the spotlight, the pressure, and the chaos of being First Lady with grace. But when it comes to her daughters, it's quite a different story. Michelle can get pretty vulnerable, and there has been proof of this recently.
I am pleasantly surprised at how normal they are. You know, I did worry what this life would be like for them.
Sasha and Malia had to live their teenage years under constant watch, with every move analyzed by the world. And while they smiled in photos, there was a side of their experience with their mother they never shared, until now. What exactly did they say? In this video, we will reveal why Michelle broke down after hearing her daughter's heartfelt confession. Michelle Obama and the media. Malia and Sasha Obama grew up in the White House, but to them, Michelle Obama was just a mom. They've spoken about her with so much love and respect, sharing how she always made sure their childhood felt as normal as possible, even when the entire world was watching. She made them do chores, kept them grounded, and never let them forget their roots. But while she was balancing motherhood, she was also dealing with the intense pressure of being the first Black First Lady. The media had plenty to say about her, and not all of it was nice. From the moment she stepped onto the national stage, she faced criticism for everything, including her clothes, her words, and even the way she carried herself. Some saw her as too outspoken, while others didn't like how honest she was, but Michelle kept moving forward, handling it all with the same strength she taught her daughters. In what way was she able to handle the pressure? There's more to find out. Stay tuned. Being in the White House wasn't just about standing beside Barack Obama. Michelle had her own voice, her own ideas, and her own way of doing things, but the more she spoke up, the more the media tried to twist her words. At the start, people called her angry just because she was passionate. They picked apart her speeches, trying to find something controversial. She had to deal with so much negativity, but she didn't let it stop her. Instead, she focused on what mattered, which was her work, her family, and staying true to herself. The media also had an opinion about her style, as if what she wore was more important than what she was saying. When she chose sleeveless dresses, it became a whole debate. Some people thought it was inappropriate for a first lady to show her arms, while others loved that she was breaking the usual mold. And let's not forget the times she danced on talk shows. Some criticized her for it, saying she wasn't acting serious enough, but Michelle wasn't interested in being what people expected. She was going to be herself, whether the media liked it or not. As much as she had to deal with negativity, she also had a lot of support. People admired her for her honesty and how she always carried herself with grace. She made speeches that connected with so many people, especially young girls who saw themselves in her. She talked about working hard, about not letting other people's doubts stop you, and about how important it was to use your voice. Even when people tried to bring her down, she kept going, and that's exactly what she wanted her daughters to see. That strength isn't about avoiding struggles, but about facing them head-on. Michelle also made sure Malia and Sasha had as normal a life as possible. Even though they were growing up in the most famous house in America, she set rules for them, made sure they did their homework, and didn't let them get caught up in the fame. The White House staff treated them like little princesses, but Michelle wasn't having any of that. She wanted them to stay grounded. Michelle's time in the White House wasn't just about being the First Lady. She made real changes. Her Let's Move campaign got kids across the country to eat healthier and be more active. She pushed for better education for girls worldwide. She supported military families and made sure they had the resources they needed. Everything she did had a purpose, but even with all that, some people still focused on the wrong things. They criticized her for promoting healthy eating, as if encouraging kids to be healthier was something to be mad about. It didn't matter though. Michelle kept going, doing what she believed was right. She also spoke openly about the struggles women face, especially when trying to balance work and family. She knew firsthand how hard it was. Before the White House, she had a full-time job while raising 2 young daughters. She understood the guilt, the stress, and the exhaustion that came with trying to do it all. That's why so many women connected with her. She wasn't just talking about these things, she had lived them. When Barack's presidency came to an end, Michelle was more than ready to step away from politics. She had done her part, faced the criticisms, and made her mark. She had shown people that being yourself was enough, that you didn't have to fit into a certain box to make a difference. Her stance didn't stop the challenges she faced, which encouraged her to put all of it into her published book. What you're about to hear will blow your mind. Challenges Faced by Michelle. Michelle Obama has faced many challenges in her life, but she always finds a way to push through. From childhood to the White House and beyond, she has dealt with obstacles that could have discouraged anyone. Being a black woman in America, coming from a working-class family, and later stepping into the role of First Lady, brought struggles she had to handle daily. Growing up on the south side of Chicago, she experienced the reality of living in a neighborhood where opportunities weren't always easy to find. Her parents worked hard to provide for their family, and they valued education. But even with their support, Michelle had to prove herself at every step. In school, she was one of the few black students in advanced classes. Teachers and classmates sometimes assumed she wasn't as smart as she was. She had to constantly work twice as hard just to be taken seriously. When she got into Princeton, things didn't get any easier. She found herself in an environment where very few students looked like her. Some people made her feel like she didn't belong. Her roommate's mother even tried to get her daughter moved to another room because Michelle was black. It was a reminder that no matter how hard she worked, some people would always see her differently. But instead of letting that bring her down, she kept pushing forward. After Princeton, she went to Harvard Law School. Even there, she faced the same problem, which was being underestimated and having to prove she was just as capable as everyone else. When she became a lawyer, she realized she didn't love the job. It paid well, but it didn't make her happy. She wanted to do work that actually helped people, so she left the big law firm and started working in public service. That decision changed her life, leading her to Barack Obama. When Barack decided to run for president, Michelle knew their lives would change forever. The campaign was brutal. She wasn't just criticized, she was attacked. Some people called her unpatriotic because of a speech she gave. Others tried to paint her as an angry black woman. She had to be careful about every word she said and every expression on her face. While other candidates' wives were celebrated for being outspoken, Michelle was judged harshly. No matter what she did, someone had something negative to say. She worked on issues that mattered to her, like children's health, military families, and education for girls worldwide. Even then, she faced criticism. When she started her campaign to fight childhood obesity, some people accused her of trying to control what Americans ate, but she kept going, knowing that helping kids live healthier lives was more important than pleasing her critics. She wrote her book titled Becoming, sharing her story in a way she had never done before. In the book, she talked about her childhood, her struggles with self-doubt, and the challenges of being First Lady. She opened up about her marriage, her struggles with infertility, and what it was like to raise 2 daughters in the public eye. The book was a massive success, selling millions of copies worldwide. People connected with her honesty. She didn't just share the highlights, she talked about the difficult moments too. She spoke about feeling lonely in her own home when Barack was busy with politics. She admitted that their marriage took work. She wanted people to see that even someone who seems to have it all still faces struggles. Her book tour was more than just signing copies and taking pictures. It was like a conversation with thousands of people at once. She traveled to different cities, sitting down for interviews and sharing more about her experiences. Each event felt like an extension of the book, giving people a chance to hear directly from her. Even after Becoming, Michelle's work didn't slow down. She and Barack started their production company, Higher Ground, to tell stories that matter. They wanted to give a platform to voices that often get overlooked. She also wrote a second book, The Light We Carry, where she talked more about handling tough times and staying hopeful. What she revealed in her books confirms everything her daughters revealed about her. Get ready for the most epic moment of the video. Confessions made by her daughters. Michelle Obama's daughters, Malia and Sasha, have shared rare insights about their mother.
Barack and Michelle Obama's daughters keep a pretty low profile. But now, Malia and Sasha are opening up in a rare interview about their famous mama,
revealing just how much she means to them. In Netflix's Becoming documentary, they opened up about their experiences growing up in the White House and how their mother's journey has impacted them. The documentary followed Michelle's 34-city book tour for her memoir, Becoming, giving the world a closer look at her personal and professional life. For years, The Obama daughters lived under intense public scrutiny. While it may have seemed like a dream life from the outside, Malia and Sasha had to navigate constant media attention and high expectations. Despite that, Michelle and Barack ensured they had as normal a childhood as possible. They were strict about keeping their daughters grounded, setting rules that made it clear they wouldn't be spoiled by their circumstances. Michelle often spoke about wanting to raise independent, responsible daughters. She and Barack insisted that Malia and Sasha make their own beds, do chores, and remain humble. Despite living in the most famous house in America, they didn't allow them to use social media while growing up and ensured they had a structured daily routine. Family dinners were non-negotiable, and the girls were expected to prioritize schoolwork over anything else. Michelle believed in discipline but balanced it with warmth, making sure her daughters knew they were always supported. The documentary included touching moments where Malia and Sasha reflected on their mother's sacrifices and hard work. Malia, a Harvard junior at the time, expressed how relieved she was to see her mom finally free from the constant pressure of public life. She mentioned that since leaving the White House in 2017, Michelle had been able to relax and focus on herself. Sasha, a freshman at the University of Michigan, shared how proud she was of her mother's accomplishments. She emphasized that Michelle deserved to feel proud of everything she had done. One of the most emotional moments came when Malia visited her mother backstage after a book tour event. She told Michelle how moving it was to see thousands of people deeply affected by her words. She described the overwhelming feeling of realizing that all the struggles their family faced during the presidency weren't for nothing. Seeing how much people still believed in her mother's message made her emotional. She even joked that hearing Stevie Wonder's music always made her tear up. Michelle and Barack's parenting style ensured that their daughters grew into strong, independent women. They raised them with discipline, love, and the understanding that privilege should never make them forget where they came from. Malia and Sasha's heartfelt words in Becoming proved just how much their mother's guidance shaped them. Melania's terrifying message. Melania Trump has always been known as a practicing Christian, someone who loved Catholicism, but now she's sending shockwaves through the Christian community. In her new memoir, the former First Lady openly declares her support for abortion at any stage of pregnancy. For many Christians, this is beyond shocking. It's making people question the Republican Party's stance on abortion moving forward. Melania has rarely shared her political views with the public, but in her book, Melania, she talks about her youth in Slovenia, her modeling career in New York, and her marriage to Donald Trump. The real question is, why now? Why is she suddenly sharing her views on abortion? And how are Christians reacting? Stick around, it's just about to get more interesting. According to a book excerpt released by The Guardian, Melania says it's imperative for women to have autonomy in making decisions about having children. She argues that no one else should have the power to decide what a woman does with her own body. Melania believes restricting abortion is the same as denying a woman control over her own body. She says she has carried this belief throughout her entire adult life. Her stance comes from a core set of principles, including individual liberty and personal freedom. She also believes people should put their own care first. She explains that it's a straightforward concept. Everyone is born with fundamental rights, including the right to enjoy life. She says people are entitled to a gratifying and dignified existence. In her view, this applies to a woman's right to make decisions about her own body and health. Donald Trump's campaign has not responded to the Christian Post's request for comment, but pro-life writer Jonathan Van Maren has already warned that the Republican Party will keep shifting toward a pro-abortion stance as long as the Trump family is running it. He points out that Lara Trump, co-chair of the RNC, is pro-choice. He also notes that Eric Trump has confirmed Donald Trump has always been pro-choice, despite keeping his bargain with the pro-life movement. Kristen Hawkins, president of Students for Life of America, says Melania lost an opportunity to be a role model for women. She makes it clear that she won't be buying the memoir. She calls Melania's support for abortion anti-feminist and says it clearly goes against Catholic teachings. She believes abortion ends an innocent life and that it tells women they can't balance children and a career, forcing them to pick one. Melania Trump didn't stop at just her book. She doubled down on her stance in a video she shared online, making it clear where she stands. She talked about how Christ helps people prosper at home, at school, at work, as mothers, and even as role models. But for many Christians, that message feels completely at odds with what she's saying about abortion. Christian podcaster Allie Beth Stuckey didn't hold back. She pointed out that Melania's views on abortion sound exactly like what Vice President and Democratic presidential nominee Kamala Harris has been saying all along. She also doesn't believe the Trump team will win over pro-choice women with this stance. Marjorie Dannenfelser, president of the pro-life group Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America, also reacted to Melania's comments. She said much of what the former First Lady is saying simply isn't correct. But despite her frustration, she made it clear that defeating Harris in the upcoming election remains her group's top priority. Melania's book is set to be released just 1 month before Election Day, right in the middle of a heated presidential race where abortion has been a major topic. Former President Trump has bragged about returning the abortion issue to the states by appointing Supreme Court justices who overturned Roe and Wade. But at the same time, he has said he wouldn't push for a national abortion ban if he becomes president again. On the Democratic side, Harris has been a strong supporter of abortion for years. She wants Roe restored, but hasn't said exactly what limits she supports. Melania writes in her book that late-term abortions are rare and usually only happen in extreme cases, like severe fetal abnormalities or when the mother's life is at risk. She emphasizes that these decisions come after careful discussions with doctors and that timing matters. But reports suggest many late-term abortions aren't for medical reasons. The Atlantic interviewed Colorado abortionist Warren Hearn, who performs abortions even when a baby could survive outside the womb. Colorado has no abortion restrictions, and Hearn got frustrated when asked if he'd perform one on a healthy woman at 30 weeks. He argued that pregnancy itself is a health risk and admitted to doing at least 2 sex-selective abortions. He also believes viability isn't about how far along a pregnancy is, but whether the woman wants to continue it. But beyond her views on abortion, let's take a look at Melania's Christian faith. Melania Trump's journey of faith. Melania's Christian journey starts with her early life in communist Yugoslavia, where religion was suppressed. Born Melania Knavs on April 26, 1970 in Slovenia, she later Germanized her name to Melania Knaus. Her father, Victor, had ties to the Communist Party and worked as a car dealer, while her mother, Amalia, was a clothing designer. Despite state atheism, Melania and her sister were secretly baptized as Catholics. She began modeling at 16, signed with an agency in Milan at 18.
And I traveled around the world modeling and had a great career.
And later moved to New York in 1996, working with top photographers and landing magazine covers. In 1998, she met Donald Trump at a fashion party, initially turning him down before they started dating. They married in 2005 in a lavish Palm Beach ceremony attended by celebrities like Shaquille O'Neal, Barbara Walters, and the Clintons. In 2006, she became a U.S. citizen and gave birth to their son, Barron. When Donald announced his presidential run in 2016, Melania, who usually stayed out of the spotlight, was suddenly thrust into public attention. Along with that came scrutiny of her past modeling work, which included some controversial moments. Her personal faith remained a mystery during the campaign. She didn't talk about it much, and even when she became First Lady, she rarely spoke about her beliefs. Certain moments confirmed that she practiced Catholicism, but she never made a big deal out of it. During the campaign, Donald mentioned that he was Presbyterian, but it was unclear if Melania shared his beliefs or had her own views. Donald Trump's faith has been widely discussed, both by his supporters and critics. But when it comes to Melania, very little has been said. No one really knows what she does on Sundays or how she practices her faith. Even throughout the entire presidential campaign, no one seemed to focus on this part of her life, leaving many to wonder where she truly stands when it comes to religion. So where does she stand? Stay tuned. We're just about to uncover that. Melania does have faith. She gave a hint about it during her first public speech as First Lady when she opened with the Lord's Prayer. This happened at a rally in Orlando in February 2017.
Thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses.
But even after that, many Americans still questioned whether she was truly a Christian. Some of the criticism came from the White House Christmas decorations, which people said felt impersonal and cold 2 years in a row. Another moment that pointed to Melania's religious beliefs was her wedding to Donald Trump. They got married in 2005 at an Episcopal church in Palm Beach, Florida. It was a traditional service, but there was something unique about it. Melania walked down the aisle carrying an ancient rosary. Instead of the usual wedding march music, a soprano singer performed Ave Maria. Instead of a bouquet, she held a rosary. This detail gave a glimpse into the depth of her personal faith. During the ceremony, Pope John Paul II placed his hand over Melania's and made the sign of the cross, a great honor for Catholics. She later called it a humbling experience, and her spokeswoman confirmed she was a practicing Catholic. Her Vatican visit with Pope Francis further solidified this. After he shook her hand, she publicly confirmed her faith, had her rosary blessed, placed flowers at a Madonna statue, and prayed in a Vatican hospital chapel. In Israel, she visited the Western Wall and the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Her spokeswoman reaffirmed her Catholic identity, but didn't confirm if she attended Mass. Her black dress and veil when meeting the Pope echoed Jacqueline Kennedy Onassis. Through these moments, her faith was quietly part of her role as First Lady. But what about her philanthropic efforts? What causes did she champion? How did she use her platform to support charitable initiatives? Get ready for the most epic moment of the video. President Trump's religious policies in 2025. Melania Trump's faith has always been a topic of quiet speculation. She rarely spoke about it, but moments like her recitation of the Lord's Prayer at a rally in 2017 and her meeting with the Pope made one thing clear. She identifies as a Catholic. Yet, her time as First Lady left many questions unanswered. Was her faith personal, or even shared with her husband? What you're about to hear will blow your mind. With Donald Trump back in the White House, these questions have taken on an entirely new meaning. Donald Trump has just made a shocking move. He has announced the creation of a White House faith office led by a controversial televangelist. At the same time, he has set up a task force with a chilling goal to wipe out what he calls anti-Christian bias. On February 6th, at the National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, Trump revealed his plan. He said he was creating a presidential commission to protect Christians from religious discrimination. The faith office will be led by Reverend Paula White, a televangelist known for her strong opinions. In the past, she even called the Black Lives Matter movement the Antichrist. During his speech, Trump made it clear that he wants to defend Christians in every part of American life. He said that as long as he is in the White House, Christians will be protected in schools, the military, government, workplaces, hospitals, and public spaces. He also said this effort would bring the country back together under God. For some Americans, this was a powerful message, but for others, it was deeply controversial. What you're about to hear will blow your mind. Trump also announced that the new Presidential Commission on Religious Liberty will work non-stop to protect this right. As part of this, he signed an executive order appointing Attorney General Pam Bondi to lead a special task force. Their job is to eliminate anti-Christian bias and put an end to any kind of targeting or discrimination against Christians within the federal government. Later that same day, after the prayer breakfast, Trump signed another executive order. This one included strong language against gender appropriation plus rights. He claimed it was necessary because of what he called an unfair pattern of attacks on peaceful Christians, something he said happened under the Biden administration. One of the most shocking claims in the order was about Easter Sunday. Trump repeated the widely disputed idea that the Biden administration officially declared Easter Sunday in 2024 as Transgender Day of Visibility. The reality is that the two events just happened to fall on the same date that year. Easter's date changes every year, so it was purely a coincidence. Interestingly, in a 2020 interview, Trump said he no longer identifies as a Presbyterian. Instead, he now calls himself a non-denominational Christian. This means he doesn't belong to a specific Christian denomination, but still holds core Christian beliefs. Over the years, Trump has built strong connections with influential evangelical leaders. He has received support from big names like Gary Bauer, the president of American Values, and Tony Perkins, the head of the Family Research Council. The Family Research Council has been labeled an anti-gender appropriation plus hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. Perkins himself, a former police officer, has repeatedly pushed the idea that gender appropriation people are more likely to be dangerous. With these latest actions, Trump has once again placed Christianity at the center of his political agenda, and we can only imply that his wife also supports these Christian moves. Donald Trump's Christian faith has been evident throughout his public life. He has never shied away from expressing his belief in God, consistently mentioning him in his speeches, and demonstrating respect for him. Trump has often emphasized the presence of God and acknowledged his reliance on him, finding spiritual strength in his faith. What sets Trump apart is his willingness to openly declare and defend his faith, a rarity among politicians.
Somebody said to me the other day, "You're the most famous person in the world by far." I said, "No, I'm not. No, I'm not." They said, "Yes, you are." I said, "No." They said, "Who's more famous?" I said, "Jesus Christ."
His actions and words reflect a genuine devotion to his religious beliefs. Trump has expressed his complete reliance on Jesus and highlighted the significance of the Christian religion, once stating that Jesus Christ forever changed the world. Trump even humbly said, "The U.S. needs a savior, and it's not me." Melania Trump, Trump's wife, has also demonstrated her faith in God on multiple occasions. While she is generally private about her personal life, her faith is an exception. Melania has publicly expressed her belief in God and even led in prayers during a national prayer service in 2017. This act highlighted the importance of prayer in her life and showcased her commitment to her faith. Melania has been seen attending religious services with her family, including Christmas Mass, further demonstrating her dedication to her Christian beliefs. For Melania, her faith has been a source of strength and guidance. She recognizes the role of faith in her decision-making process and relies on it for wisdom and discernment. Recently, Melania has made some revelations that have sent shockwaves through religious and political communities. But before we dive into the revelations she made and their implications for believers, let's explore some very important context. The Trump couple has been the subject of considerable criticism regarding their professed faith. Many individuals argue that their declarations about God and the campaigns they orchestrate to appeal to Christians are nothing more than calculated attempts to garner support. Consequently, every action and statement made by the Trump family is subjected to intense scrutiny and relentless judgment. A particular incident that ignited endless debates revolved around former First Lady Melania Trump's recitation of the Lord's Prayer at a rally in support of her husband, former President Donald Trump. Some viewed it as a genuine expression of faith, while others perceived it as a crafty maneuver. The American Family Association, AFA, chimed in, with AFA President Tim Wildman asserting that Melania Trump delivered a momentous reading. He contended that acknowledging God in public life is a deeply ingrained tradition in the United States, tracing back to its very foundation. Wildman even invoked President George Washington, who insisted that failure to acknowledge God, religion, and morality disqualified one from being considered a patriot. The authenticity of Melania's prayer became a topic of impassioned discussion. While some accused her of pandering to Christians, others staunchly maintained that it was a genuine manifestation of her faith. Tim Wildman expressed his admiration for the First Family's acknowledgement of God and the Bible, emphasizing the refreshing nature of such openness. However, there were those who found the prayer disingenuous, almost resembling a theatrical performance designed to manipulate the audience. The room erupted in cheers after the prayer, evoking discomfort in some, as it felt more like a pep squad cheer than a solemn invocation. Controversy seems to come after Melania Trump whenever she expresses her faith. For instance, she met with Pope Francis at the Vatican in 2017, where she extended a rosary for his blessing. The Pope placed his hand over hers and made the sign of the cross, a gesture considered a profound honor in Christian circles. Subsequently, Melania took to social media, deeming the meeting an honor and expressing her profound humility. Similarly, at her 2005 wedding in an Episcopal church, Melania eschewed a bouquet in favor of carrying a rosary, symbolizing the deep personal significance of her faith. Despite the criticism Melania endures, both she and her husband consistently issue public statements defending their faith and exhorting others to believe in God and to pray. However, regardless of the sincerity with which Melania articulates her convictions, the majority of responses she receives are rife with censure, accusing her of possessing a spurious faith. Nevertheless, the Trump family persists in expressing their perspectives on faith. They steadfastly believe in God and earnestly endeavor to align their actions with what they perceive as God's guidance. Melania recognizes that she cannot coerce anyone into supporting or trusting her. Instead, she places her trust in God and adheres to what she believes is right. Being thrust into the public eye invariably renders individuals vulnerable to criticism. Melania comprehends this reality and accepts that she will be subjected to scrutiny. The purpose behind the Trump family's prayer was to safeguard churches from undue government influence and to ensure that individuals are not coerced into subscribing to a specific religious doctrine contrary to their deeply held beliefs. Like any Christians embarking on a journey to propagate the Word of God, the Trump family confronts numerous obstacles and trials. They endure withering glances and acrimonious remarks from those around them, yet they persevere, fortified by their unwavering faith and the knowledge that God accompanies them on their arduous path. Moreover, ordinary believers harbor the hope that more government officials will exhibit candor in sharing their faith, irrespective of their religious affiliation. The prayer delivered by the Trump family was deemed a beautiful expression of devotion, and it is incumbent upon individuals in positions of power to openly profess their beliefs and values. Let's look at practical events where Melania proved her faith.
Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses.
Do you agree with what Sasha and Malia revealed about their mother? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments section. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Click on the next video displayed on your screen. You will enjoy it.